Okay, well, we started bombing Syria last night. Um, I don't know about the situation. Politically speaking, I'm not really a Democrat. There's not everything in the Democratic ticket, the Democratic platform that I agree with. I split on several different kinds of issues with the Democrats. When it comes to foreign policy in this situation here, when it comes to bombing shit and blowing up people, I have a tendency to lean more towards the libertarian philosophy than I do a hawkish Democrat philosophy. And I, by no stretch of the imagination, am a neocon. That's not to say that I'm an isolationist like some libertarians are. I don't believe we should build a wall around the United States of America and just keep the world out. I think that's not effective either. And I think there's times where we have to engage in a conflict. It's just the state of the world demands that. I don't believe every time we engage in conflict is that necessary, though. What bothers me is we seem to always, we're really big to say we must leave everything on the table, but what seems to always be ignored that's sitting on the table is diplomatic relations. It's always the neocons and the Democratic hawks are always wanting to wage that eternal war. Might makes right. We're just going to beat them into submission. Well, that's not going to work. We can put all the boots on the ground in Syria and Iraq that we want to fight ISIS or ISIL or whatever the hell you want to call them. It's not going to do any good. All the boots on the ground is not going to do any good. We can keep a perpetual war going in the Middle East. It will never do any good. There will always remain the perpetual war until the people, until the neighbors, and to Saudi Arabia, to Turkey, to Jordan, to when all these other states, Qatar, to when these other countries that are around it that are directly affected by this situation, until they're willing to step up and say we don't want to deal with this anymore. It's a futile war. We're just bombing to bomb, and it annoys me. I hear it on MSNBC, CNN, Fox all the time. The homeland, the homeland, the homeland, the homeland. Can't we just say, how does this benefit the United States, not the homeland? How can this benefit our country, not the homeland? Because when you say homeland to me, and I know this is really nitpicking, that just grates me. That just seems so close to us to say homeland that it just echoes in my head Nazi Germany saying fatherland and the nationalism that we are the Americans and we've got to go fight the evil empires of the world. Why? Why do we? Maybe, just maybe, sometimes, not always, but sometimes we are the evil empire. Maybe, just maybe, people around the world don't necessarily like our form of government. They don't like our type of democracy. They don't like a Judeo-Christian religious belief system. Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought that maybe we just aren't that superior? that we don't have to have the responsibility of being the policeman of the world? Well, if we don't, who will? I don't know. Let someone else decide that for once. How come Britain isn't debating about putting boots on the ground? Why isn't France debating about putting boots on the ground? Hell, why isn't Saudi Arabia putting boots on the ground? These people are much closer. Why does it have to be us? Why must we engage in a war? Um, yeah, and it's not just, I can sit here and rage about the neocon Republicans waging war. It's not just neocon Republicans. The Democrats have our hawks. We've got Feinstein out in California, who, bless her heart, she's a nut fuck, okay? You can't get more progressive than Feinstein, other than maybe Bloomberg. Too progressive. You can go so far progressive that you really are a commie, just like the right-wing nut jobs say you are. That really is true. You go so far left and you end up in communism. And when you start telling people like Bloomberg, who wants to regulate the 20-ounce Cokes at McDonald's, that's a little bit of being a nanny state. That's not the same thing as wanting to regulate firearms as to regulate my Coca-Cola intake. Feinstein over in California, she rages about the gun debate, and I'm all in for common sense gun laws. You've seen my wall, you've seen my post. I think the gun nuts are nuts, and they are nuts. Feinstein's just as much of the other end of the deal. She literally, when the right-wing nut jobs say she wants to ban guns, she does. She really, really does. She wants to eliminate them. And at the same time, she screams for war. She's the same fear tactic that any Nazi uses. Oh my God, we got to protect the homeland. If they want to bomb us, if they want to slam a plane into another tower, if they want to blow up a water supply system, waging war in Iraq and Syria isn't going to stop that. That's here at home, and that's a homegrown terrorist. Those are sleeper cells. Those are lone wolves. And waging a war in the Middle East isn't going to protect. That isn't going to protect us. It just isn't going to do it. And as far as the atrocities, the murder, the slaughter, yes, I'm not saying something doesn't need to be done with ISIS. I kind of like Obama's approach. I say we use the drones. I say we use the drones and we bomb the holy living hell out of them. Sure, absolutely, no problem. I have no problem with that. Bum, 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 bum. Don't put no boots on the ground. Don't waste our lives. Don't get entangled in a physical conflict like that. Drones can be taken out of the sky just like that. It takes a whole lot more effort to put thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of troops over there in Syria, over there in Iraq, over in the Middle East, and then pull them back out. Much more complicated. I don't know. I sit here and I'm watching the news right now, and I'm just so sick of the propaganda that gets spewed in both parties, Democratic hawks and neocon Republicans. It's just this fear tactic. Oh my God, they're going to come over here and they're going to kill us. They're going to rape us. They're going to chop our heads off. No, they're not. Is there going to be a terrorist attack? Maybe, possibly, yes. There's 320 plus million people in this country. We have a large United States of America, many ways to enter into our country, and it don't matter how secure you make the border, they can get through. That is always going to be a possibility. We live in a new era, a new time. This isn't the 1900s. This isn't the 1800s. We know more than we wage trench warfare anymore. We no longer have battlefields anymore. The battlefields are the cities, the states. It's through terrorism, and that is true. You got to change the way we fight. You cannot fight terrorism like we fought Vietnam. You can't fight terrorism like we fought Nazi Germany. You can't fight terrorism like we would wage war against Napoleon and his crusades. It's a different war. It's fought different ways. And that's why neocons and Democratic hawks don't get that, because they're usually older people and they're stuck in that John McCain mindset of the Cold War and how to wage the battles, and might makes right, more bombs, more bullets, more tanks, more missiles. That's not going to do it. You can't destroy an ideology that way. You can't take out an ideology. You can cripple a country by bombing a country. ISIS doesn't have a country. You can cripple a nation by locking down its finances and blockading it in. You can't do an ideology that way. You can't block an ideology. It goes beyond borders. And so conventional warfare isn't going to do it. It just isn't going to do it. So we can bomb and we can bomb and we can bomb and we can cripple them and we can do this and we can do that. It's not going to end. It will be a perpetual war. It's not going to end in a week from now. It's not going to end a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We might de-escalate the situation. It might fade away out of existence for a little bit. It's going to come back, usually with a different name, maybe even a different cast of characters. Same sickness. And there's nothing you can do about that. All the bombs, all the nukes, all the bullets, all the boots on the ground, it's going to change anything. You got to change this. You got to change the thinking. You got to change it here. That's the only way it's going to take place. Bombing's not going to do it. And ISIS isn't going to start beheading people on the Mall of Americas. It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying that there isn't a possibility of a terrorist attack. Sure there is. There will always be that possibility. I don't think you're going to see an Islamic horde wash across America in the next year or so. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think if you believe that, then you're just caught up in this fear-mongering that gets pushed out there, and that fear-mongering gets pushed out there to sell the wars. It's pushed out there to just to make the American people go, oh, we got to do this. I don't want to go to war. We hate war, but we got to do it. We got to protect ourselves. They're coming to get us. George W. Bush said it best. The smoking gun we might find might come in the form of a mushroom cloud. Fear might, maybe, could be. So we better go bomb, because we might never know, when ISIS is going to show up and chop your head off. Never know, and they're going to go out there and drag your little 3-year-old little girl out in the middle of the street and rape her. Never know, so we got to go to war, It's warmongering. It's fear-mongering by the warmongers to sell their wars. We got to look at it different, people. I'm not saying do nothing. I'm not a libertarian that just says block up the borders and look the other way and maybe they won't see us. I don't believe that philosophy works either. But the philosophy of bomb, boots on the ground, wage a war, hunt them down, wage a war, kill them, let's go to war. That is not effective. That has not been effective in quite a while. We must change our way of thinking. We must stop. It's not only a matter of let's leave everything on the table. Great, leave everything on the table. But the first option, the first tool you reach for on that table, does it need to be a Hellfire missile? That doesn't necessarily have to be the first line of defense. It just doesn't. We've got to break that mentality. I don't know what to do about it because the American people right now, they're all ginned up. Oh my God, ISIS is coming. Kill ISIS, blow the Middle East up, blow the Middle East. If you could nuke the Middle East, you could turn it into a glass parking lot. You could turn every grain of sand over there melted. It isn't going to change into that ideology. That mindset is not going to change. And the more we wage war, it just adds fuel to their fire. I know that sounds stupid, but it is true. That's why they're goading us into a war. They get support when we go to war. When we attack them, that gets rallies people to their cause. But they're nuts, Larry. They're doing horrible things. Absolutely, they're nuts. Absolutely, they must be dealt with. I'm just saying, I don't think this is the correct way. I don't think bombing, nuking, shooting, slaughtering, butchering is going to be effective. I've yet to see it be effective. And I can't foresee it in the future to be effective. I cannot see how you're going to stop and eradicate an ideology like that exists when it's not bound by borders. It's not bound by a nationality. It's very far-reaching, and the fact that you're going to bomb it out of existence just makes no logical sense to me. We just end up killing a lot more innocent people. Our soldiers bleed and die. We spend a hell of a lot of money that no one else in the world seems to be spending or doing. But we have this little psyche in our head that it is left up to the U.S. of A. to police the world. I don't know why we have that mentality. I don't know who handed that little police shield to us, but we've snatched it up and seem to think that we're responsible for it. And that's the problem. We're not really responsible for a lot of this shit. Let some other people take some responsibilities for a while. Okay, I've been rambling 12, 13 minutes now. I'm going to go finish watching this bomb Syria. Think about it, folks. just think what we're accomplishing by bombing. And I just don't see that we're accomplishing a whale of a lot.